Hey NAI football fans, Corey Thorpe here with another edition of the NAIF Ball Podcast, powered by AdCraft USA, your custom apparel, merch, and uniform experts. Our friends at AdCraft have been with us for many years now. They've run web stores for us multiple times. These guys are NAI fans and family who are experts in the apparel and merchandise world. AdCraft allows you to take the hassle out of ordering. Let their knowledgeable design and customer service staff handle everything from hosting the store online, shipping the product, and helping your customers so you can get back to the game. Find them online at adcraftusa.com. All right, NAI football fans, this is Corey Thorpe back with another edition of the NAIF Ball Podcast, powered by AdCraft Custom Apparel and Merch. The best in the business since 1974. And we have the gang back together again. Matt is back, moved in, got the new big boy job over at Dakota Wesleyan. So look at us. Look at
Look at
us. Who
us.
would have thought?
Everything's right in the world, it feels like, Corey.
Got this band
Um,
back together.
yeah, would have loved to have hopped on last week, but I was in the middle of moving here, so
That
that
is
happens.
understandable. I'm about to have to do the same thing myself. So before we do that, let's get to the getting. And you know, last week with the AAC, we said rest in peace to St. Andrews. Well, this week we say rest in peace to the North Star for probably the last time, and goodbye to Jamestown, who is now a D2 school. Was a Frontier school last year, but moves up to D2.
The landscape is changing in front of our eyes. Everything that we've talked about over the past couple of years is like, oh, that's way off in the future, but it's going to happen, and here we are.
And here we are. And first up, with their first year in the Frontier Conference, it's the Simpson Redhawks. 97th is dead last. But what do you expect? They're a first year team. I mean, yeah. But I will say, giving up almost a first down every play gave me a chuckle.
Yeah, not exactly where you want to be, but this is a developing program. I don't think this is anything we can really knock against them.
No.
They are working really hard, and I think this upcoming season too, just with the fact that you return everybody, right? Like, you are in good shape. The guys have played together, built that relationship, and you've gone through the bumps in the road, but now you're able to see what's in front of you and smooth the ride out a little bit. And I think they're in a good position to do that. Like it's the third, fourth year is where you start to see that surge for these programs.
Yeah, and the fact is that you're picking on that NorCal area with Simpson that is so rich in recruiting, and it's under recruited in the NAI landscape. D2
Mm-hmm.
gets a little bit of it. The Oregon teams are going to catch some of it, but as far as local teams, Simpson's in a really rich area that's kind of untapped in our landscape.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too, names you might see jump out at you this season, probably Caleb Anderson at the quarterback position, Ezekiel Anderson at the running back position, and Taylon Ramirez at the wide receiver position. Those are all guys to keep eyes on.
Yep. So moving on, we go to MSU Northern. 84th in SP Plus. That's up 3 from last year. Basically, all from moves up on offense and defense. Up 3 on offense, up 5 on defense. A little bit of a difference. You'll notice we're using Massey rankings as well. That is kind of because that's kind of what our playoff committee is going to be using as one of their big metrics this year is the Massey. So kind of giving you an idea of what those coaches are going to be looking at as well, and how they finished last year. Of course, MSU Northern, um, in the bottom feeder right now in the North Star. Head coach entering his 4th season, kind of getting the team filled out where he's wanting it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Montana State Northern, they've been in this position before. It's been kind of a trend for them to be at this level. But I mean, you're making progress. Like your numbers have improved. You've gone up on both sides of the ball. You can't say that's a failure in any capacity. So there's something there. And I think too, with how much of a leap your defense took, you're bringing back pretty much all of them. Michael Watkins, Devin Carmona, and Spencer Lenners, all names on that defense that definitely jump out. And you have two of them on the all conference team there. So definitely names that you're excited to be bringing back.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, look, that's a freshman
Mm-hmm.
there, Michael Watkins as well. That's huge. And you mentioned it. It's almost all the defense. There's a few linebackers that graduated, but other than that, it's pretty much everybody. What you're gonna have to figure out though, um, is quarterback. You'll lose some guys there at quarterback. Ashton Platt's going to be your guy at least. We believe that's what we project based on the stats from last year. Good news for him is that he's bringing back all his wide receivers. At least you're going to have someone to throw to.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think too, the defense is going to be in a great position because you're kind of figuring things out on offense to really take over and be the defining side of the ball for this team and help your offense out in a lot of positions.
Next up, and we're going to go through these kind of fast because of the fact that there's 14 of these teams, and we don't want this to be a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah, going through the notes and reviewing everything for the show is just like, man, this is going, still going. Wow. Okay.
Next year, this is 2 podcasts for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely is. I screwed up the calendar this year a little bit and had to get them in this year. Arizona Christian, the next one up, Frontier, team from last year, 2-8, 1-7. Um, it's been a rough transition from the Sooner for ACU.
Yeah, it's not. They've had a pretty rough go of it. I think credit to Jeff Bowen though. Like this is definitely a guy that can get your team on the right track. Just changing scenery and teams and all of that from what you're used to is just always a tough transition um, in any capacity. So, I think this is a season for them that they could really take a step up and get back to where they were just a couple of years ago in the playoffs. So.
Yeah, I mean they rose 13 spots defensively, so I do think that that's a really good place to be if you can continue to make similar gains there defensively. Obviously, we know the Frontier tends to be a heavy defensive the conference. So if you're able to bring that defense online, it's probably going to be a good thing. And the fact is that in this position, you have the opportunity to let the young guys step up. Jack Cloherty only had 3 attempts, but he's kind of your returner there at quarterback. Um, John Wilson is going to be your running back. AJ Sibley comes back. He was injured last year. Didn't really get to see him offensively. Defensively, you've got to replace some D linemen. Skylar Alton is kind of your leader there, but I do think that you have an opportunity on both sides of the ball to get better with youth.
Absolutely. And, just talking about, the previous teams and you bring a lot of guys back and having that cohesion, but this is kind of on the flip side, there's a push and pull to both identities. But like a younger team, you can really find some gems, some real athletes, guys that will be program cornerstones, guys that you can build a program on. They are usually forged as freshmen, as sophomores, guys that have to step up early. Um, and like you mentioned, a few of those names, like those are guys that are definitely in that position. They're not brand new, but they definitely are still feeling out, being a college football player and how that whole routine goes. So,
Next up was my dark horse pick for the North Star last year, Mayville State. And, well, darn it, I think I would have been right if Tim Salmon hadn't gotten very hurt about early on in the year, because that defense was up 71 places from where we were a year ago. You put a veteran quarterback in there, you might have been okay,
It feels very weird to be talking about Mayville State as like a defensive team.
right?
But man, they were super impressive last year. Like I know the 4-6 record probably isn't what you would have liked it to have been, but man, like that defense was pretty good. So obviously you do hurt a little bit going into the season. You're not returning many of those guys. So you're going to have some guys, step up on the defensive side of the ball. But you definitely do bring back Devin Woods, who will be your main leader on the defense, and being at the linebacker position can really be an enforcer. So I think it'll be interesting to see how their new guys mesh in.
And it might be a bit of a blessing in disguise for you with um, having gotten your quarterback hurt last year. You got your backup, some good game action, and now he's seen live fire and
Mm-hmm.
can now step into it. The big thing there is going to be the fact that you're losing Javion Davison and Derek Frederick there,
Mm-hmm.
and Mason Ullman. Three nice targets, three nice pieces there, and you're losing a majority of your wide receivers for Dylan Lamont at quarterback. So you're going to have to work in new guys, but you've got a returning signal caller. So it's one of those things, quarterback's the most important position on the field. You might be okay.
Mm-hmm. Rocky will get him right.
Yeah, I definitely. Rocky Larson has done a phenomenal job with Mayville State. When we started this, and when we started about the same time he did, Mayville State was terrible. They were just awful. And the fact that we can talk about Mayville State honestly and say good things consistently is a testament to what he's built, because it was not great 6 seasons ago. Talking about head coaches, the next one up was an AFCA 30 for 30 a few years back, Chris Stutzram. He's entering his 7th season. Rocky Mountain took a step back last year. It was a tough season for them. 1-8, or yeah, 2-8, 1-7 in the Frontier. But that's still good for about dead level, middle of the pack in our two ranking systems that we're looking at, both SP Plus and Massey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, bringing back a good chunk of that defense too is putting you in a fantastic position because, like we talked about, Frontier very defense heavy. Like that is the emphasis. So having a stout defense, which Rocky Mountain usually does, and even in a down year like last year, they were still pretty good. Um, I think you're in a perfect position to bring back a dominant defense.
Yeah, the one that you're just going to have to work around is Casey Barnett. And that was a
Mm-hmm.
guy that you looked at any stat sheet, he's going to be on it for Rocky. That's a tough one to lose. Your kind of quarterback, your defense in that defensive secondary. And the other toughie is that you don't return a ton at quarterback. Trent Nobach was your guy there, but the pickings are slim besides Nobach.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they plug in there, who plugs in there, because you're gonna have to figure something out. A lot of these teams we're about to talk about are very good.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And look, we're at team going into 6, and we're talking
it's
about
already,
yeah,
yeah, it's already climbing.
it's already climbing. Next up is Matt's favorite team ever, Dakota State.
Hmm.
They were up 19 overall, including a 27 point or 27 spot climb on defense. It was a great year for them. made some noise in the North Star. Made a lot of people uncomfortable, including Matt. Watching them against Dakota Wesleyan.
Yeah, wasn't a good time.
For those
Um,
on the podcast, I just love making making Matt uncomfortable talking about Dakota State. It's one of life's little joys.
Also, I'm an employee of the rival now, not just an alum. So I really, I mean, I very good defense from last year. I'll give them that for sure. I mean, that's just a fact. And you bring back most of those guys. Dakota State definitely known for stout defenses.
And the fact is
I
that
Yeah,
your head coach there, Josh Anderson, is entering his 18th season. There's not a lot of guys around the NAI that are approaching the 20-year mark.
yeah, seriously.
So he's been around the block a time or two. You're gonna miss some of your players here, like Skogerbo and Tice Ortman, who is the rare dual type of running back and punter. Um, that's not one you see a whole lot, but
That's what we call a threat.
is that a dual threat there since you're
Oh,
on special teams?
absolutely. Yes, that's a dual threat. 100%.
I will take it. A man was almost a 1,000-yard rusher too, and was almost a 40-yard average punter. I'll take that every day of the week. That is
I'll need to look at the tape, but running quick kick with a running back punter would be the craziest thing
be
ever.
fantastic. Um,
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Though.
First punt of the season in the Ag
Yeah,
Bowl.
yeah. Wouldn't that be great?
You want to do it. That'd be perfect.
Look, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even. I couldn't even say I'd be that mad. I get it.
You do return a majority on both sides of the ball. That's a really, really good thing. You return your starting quarterback, Trey Hetrick. You return most of your D line with Caleb Dwyer being there. This is a team that we talked about last season in this time, saying these guys could make a jump, and they did. Now the question is, can you put two back-to-back good years together? And sometimes these majority teams incrementally get better. Sometimes they regress, and I'm not sure which I'm going to see out of Dakota State. Move.
I have no more comments on the matter.
We will stop making Matt uncomfortable now and talk about Valley City State. We talked about Josh Anderson entering his 18th season. Well, he's now in there with the champ because Dennis McCullough is entering his 29th season. My guy is a legend at Valley City State. 3-7, 2-6. Had some issues at quarterback. You do return a majority, but you lose Avery Thorsgaard. Thorsgaard was a multi-year starter for you. Goes down to injury, and you got to figure out how to replace him. And you see those offensive numbers are not great on that 81st offense, but that defense definitely interesting watching that go up about 14 places from last year.
Yeah, the defense definitely jumped off the page, which is saying something because Valley City in recent years has had pretty good defense. And even for them last season to feel like they were jumping out on the screen at you is with how good they were playing on that side of the ball is crazy. I really think you just figure out a few things on offense. You're going to be in a fantastic spot. I think Noah Chambers, I mean, that's the guy that you have to plug in, and he has that experience from last season. So
I think the saddest thing about this, though, they do open the season on August 28th, but it is not the paint bucket game. That hurts. That was like
it's a
one of my favorite things to watch.
sad day. It's a sad day for college football. Wow.
However, it is Dickinson State, so I mean
Which is that's pretty sick. So
I'll take it, but it's not the paint bucket game.
I was gonna say there's no novelty quite like the paint bucket game, man. It's
it
truly
it doesn't
special.
it does not matter how good or bad these two teams are. I'm watching the darn paint bucket game.
Yep.
They did have some good players that are coming back. Emmanuel Spivey, a first teamer there. Xavier Westbrook, the returner, had a kick return touchdown. Levi Olson, good for 64 tackles. They're just kind of sprinkled throughout, and I'm not certain what we're going to see from Valley City this year.
Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on this team. Uh, I don't know. I just think you have the experience on the defensive side of the ball. You have a head coach who knows what he's doing. You have guys plugging into the offense while it wasn't chugging the entire season. Uh, Still guys who are experienced and have an off season to rest, recover, train back up, get better, hit the weights, all that. So I think they're going to be in a pretty good position.
And we will be back with more here after these messages from our friends at AdCraft.
So you want to create and sell custom merch for your team or business. That's exciting, but where do you begin? How much inventory should you order? How do you distribute orders? AdCraft has your answers. Streamline the way you offer custom merch by utilizing our risk-free web store service. We ship directly to each customer, and we have the fastest turnaround in the game. Raise funds for your team or get merch to your employees and patrons. Contact AdCraft today, and let's bring your merch to life.
That is exactly what they are the best at. I'm toying with the idea of putting a web store together for the fall, getting that going. That should be fun if we decide to do that. Definitely going with our friends from AdCraft. They're fantastic with customer service. You hear us talk about them every week. They are an incredible partner, and we're so glad to have them on board for another season. So into the top half of the frontier, and we're going to start with Eastern Oregon, who I just realized I put the record in wrong. They were 5-6, 4-4 in the frontier. Everything else is right though. So this is another one. Tim Camp is entering his 18th season. We've got 3 of these in a row. Eastern Oregon's one of these teams that it's kind of like a Kansas sometimes that can reach up and bite you when you least expect it.
Yeah, I do need to get this off my chest before I talk about Eastern Oregon any further. Don't know how I feel about going from Valley City State to Eastern Oregon in this. That's weird, right?
It feels weird.
Feels very weird. Okay, sorry, I just needed to say that. But yeah, Eastern Oregon, Kansas is a good comparison, but I think their floor as a program would be like a bit higher at this level than
Sure.
like a Kansas would be. But yeah, definitely a team that can cause some problems, known for causing problems. And yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see Tim Camp, obviously a guy who's been around a long time and does a very good job with this program. But you're going to have to plug in a lot of guys in a lot of places this year. There's going to be new faces for you. Obviously, Quincy Glasper being gone really hurts you, and Malachi Spurrier, especially being gone, hurts you. That connection was really good last season, and having to fill those weapons is a challenge.
Yeah, I mean the quarterback with the most experience last year was Elia Kirasimasi with 7 attempts. That's, I mean, sure, when you're a team like Eastern Oregon, you don't have a ton of blowout games to put your quarterback in, but you kind of feel bad for some of these guys that are like 3 attempts, 7 attempts, and you're going out there and trying to win your spot in spring. It's gonna be interesting there, and I just don't know what we're gonna get again for Eastern Oregon because you're returning a minority of your offense and only half of your defense. Literally was halfway across the board for every single position grouping on defense. Literal half. of linebackers, defensive linemen, and defensive backs. I don't know. This could be a year. It's a high variance year. They could get a lot better real quick. They could regress. We're not sure, and I think a lot of it's going to depend on who they've got in the division with them.
Yeah, definitely. Curious to see what Tim Camp is going to come up with here. It's very funny talking about a lot of these programs, and it's, they have a lot of holes to fill, but it's like these are guys that have been around the block and know what they're doing. So it's always curious to see how that's going to go.
Now, you mentioned going from Valley City to Eastern Oregon, but I'm going to present you with one that's even weirder. And that's going from Eastern Oregon, a 5 and some odd team, to Carroll, a 7 and 3 team. We jump in the SP Plus from 48 to 31. It's a hard jump, and those rankings on offense and defense, 44th and 18, are about as Carroll of rankings as you could ever imagine. They were up 14 spots on offense, down 11 on defense. It was a great defense in 23. Being 18th is no problem there. This is the first team in the Frontier that we've gotten to so far that's positive on your yards per play differential.
I feel like every time we get to this part of the Frontier, we talk about like this back third of teams, my head starts to spin, and I don't really know what to do. Carroll, definitely a team that is always in that discussion that gives me a migraine. But I mean, you bring back so many guys on both sides of the ball. Like, this is a fantastic program. Troy Purcell has done a fantastic job with this program entering year 7. Like, they're always going to be a force, and I always have such a hard time seeing this team not win this conference because it feels like their floor is so high.
It is. I mean, and having a really, really good defense and a really, really good running game, which is baseline Carroll.
That's how you win football games.
That's
like
how you win football games.
A base level, yeah.
Especially when it's 3 degrees outside in the back half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you do it, and you return most of your running backs. Archie LaFerge is going to be your main returner there. You've got to replace a quarterback. Jack Perko was a multi-year starter. Hogan Carmichael, 5 attempts, backed him up. We'll see. Perko was a good quarterback. This gets into the point where we start talking about Frontier Conference chaos. And you've got Eastern Oregon, you've got Carroll, you've got so many of these teams in the Frontier that are jostling for position. And then you're going to add in teams like Dickinson State, who are just going to make it worse. That's going to be so much fun from a chaos perspective. But you've got a Carroll team that's returning a majority on both sides of the ball. What do you do with them? So many directions. It could be great.
Like, this is just on paper like a top 15 team in the country, probably.
Right. But you can't rank them all.
No. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, because then we go from them to College of Idaho. And you sit here and you go, holy crap, College of Idaho had the 9th best offense in the nation last year? Yeah. Yeah. Again, another one of these head coaches. Mike Morosky's been with the team since it got started here. That program's never known another head coach. The problem here with College of Idaho is that you're losing a lot of people, especially on offense. Hunter Gilbert, Brett Guydeson, those two don't even show. You're returning a minority of your running backs. Only a few of your quarterbacks, a little bit of that production. Caden Young does come back there.
Cory, we're all good over here. We got Josh Horn.
Hey, 39.3 average, 66 long. I will take that. My problem is that we've lost Willie Nelson.
Yeah, that's fair.
I didn't know that old men still played football, but he can still sing, he can still play.
Mm.
But no, Willie Nelson's been all name team, and I'm sad to see him go as well. And their defense is going to have to carry them like it did a couple years ago. And Matt, it just gets crazier because now we go to Dickinson State.
Now, yeah, and now we're here, and now it's Dickinson State. I
And
mean,
now we're
sure,
here.
dude. Like,
and there's still
here's
3
another
teams to
team.
go.
I know. Just another team with a stupid high floor, right? Like, incredible defense from last year, and you return like everybody.
Right? So much that we have to separate the pages. Samaj Clark was almost 1,000-yard receiver last year. Riley Waters and Nathaniel Gillick had like 110 tackles between the two of them. Chase Miller had a long of 53 last season. Here's the problem, though. 2 big names. Will Madler, Braden Zuroff.
Yeah.
That's killer. 3 other things that's going to be killer. 2 first-teamer, all North Star offensive linemen, and a second-teamer.
Yeah, I misspoke a bit when I said they bring back everybody else. They bring back a lot of their front 7, and that is very good. Yeah, secondary will definitely be something to watch. But I think you still have, you have Medlock back. Like he's still a solid contributor to that secondary. Can lead the way for them. And again, just Dickinson State, like always feels like they are just a team that you always discount on paper, and then they just win 10 plus games and make the playoff and look really good doing it. So I can never discredit them. But it's going to be very interesting to see how they plug into all of this frontier mess.
Yeah.
Because the top part of this conference is already ridiculous, like we've talked about. And now you added another team who, like, with the old North Star, like their regular season was always kind of in question. So what does that look like now when you're a bit more fleshed out, playing definitely a much stronger conference overall?
The good news is that you're no longer playing anybody twice.
That's a blessing.
It really is. Those are always crazy games. We talked about it with Arizona Christian that the grass wasn't always greener moving from the Sooner to the Frontier. I'm really interested to see how Dickinson State adapts. I think they're going to be fine. They have incredible fan support, both being at games, but also they have really good support from the monetary side as well. With their touchdown club, does an incredible job. So I think they're going to be all right, but you may see a regression of Dickinson State this year just because you've got to replace a really good quarterback. You've got to replace a really good running back. You've got to replace 3 O-linemen. That's going to be hard.
Here's the problem, Cory. You just made the mistake I make every preseason, and that is say what you just said about Dickinson State. So I'm gonna turn a new leaf this year. I'm confident that they will figure it out and they will be like a top 4 team in this conference.
That's going to be hard because the hits they keep on coming, because next up is Southern Oregon.
And back to Oregon. I mean,
by Jove, we have been telling you people about Southern Oregon for 2 years now, and they
The
finally
sleeping
proved me
giant
right.
is awoken. It is here. The machine is rolling. And by
They
God, Gunnar Yates is coming back, and he is going to terrorize this conference.
I mean, we talked about, like, how in the crap does College of Idaho have the 9th best defense, but Southern Oregon had the 9th best offense. Southern Oregon had the 8th best offense. This is a top 10 team in SP plus a top 15 team in Massey, and they were 8-3. This was the only team that beat Montana Western in the regular season last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we told you. We done told you.
We did. We did.
Look at that D line though. Returning Gabe Foster and Adonis Jackson.
It's unreal. This team is going to be so good.
The problem is you got to replace a quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to find a signal caller. I think your defense is going to be fine though. You return darn near everyone except for Ty Glumbick. I think you're going to be fine defensively. And if you've got defense and a good running back, this is the frontier, baby. You're going to be fine.
Yeah. And I mean, Burke Brown, a guy who, in the opposite side of the spectrum for what we've talked about this episode, third season. And like this machine's already rolling. So,
I mean,
going to be very interesting.
You see around college football, the guys that make that year two jump. I think this is what we saw from Southern Oregon. Now the question's going to be, can you keep growing into year 3 now that you've got a majority of the guys on the team are your guys?
Mm-hmm.
You know, are you going to continue at a high level of recruiting? Are the guys that you've brought in the last 3 seasons the guys that can actually get to the top of this league? Because it's toughy. Because, well, the hits just keep on rolling. Montana Tech. What a great season for Tech. What a fantastic season. They started it off with a thriller against Georgetown that we were glued to. And, yeah, up 16 spots. The 5th best offense in the nation. Top 10 in both SP Plus and Massey. If the defense had been there, this would have been a team that would have won the Frontier outright.
I'm going to need some ibuprofen after this, I think. Because, yeah, this team is also really, really good. And they also have a very, very high floor, especially on the defensive side. The fact that the defense wasn't the highlight of the team last year, like, is kind of crazy because they were pretty solid on defense. And you bring back a good chunk of those guys. I mean, Anthony Oakes on the D line is fantastic. Matt Whitcomb also in the defensive backfield is really good to be bringing back. So it's going to be, I think, just another really good year for this team.
Your problem here is going to be on offense, though.
Yeah.
You're as far as we can tell, and this is subject to change. As far as we can tell, you're not bringing back a quarterback who threw a pass last year. Now, we may be wrong on that one. We have not received exact word on it yet. But what we do show is that Lander Smith and Wyatt Alexander were seniors last year. That's a 1,400-yard running back and a 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah, definitely big weapons you're going to have to find replacements for quickly. If you want that top 5 offense to get humming, it'll be curious to see who they plug back into those positions. But I think this is still just a really good football team. And they're going to be in the conversation this year.
I feel like we missed on them last year. I'm going to be honest. I think we undersold them last year.
Mhm.
And as our buddy Henchman 21 will kindly remind us, how about them diggers from Butte? You can't, you've got to give them some healthy respect.
Mhm.
Even though it looks like they're losing quite a few players, you're gonna have to give them the time of day and give them the respect that they deserve. And then we have finally climbed the Frontier Mountain and have gotten to the top. Montana Western, the third ranked team by SP Plus, fourth by Massey, the fourth best offense, the 27th ranked defense. This was a team last year with Michael Palandri at quarterback that was fantastic. I thought, honestly, that Palandri had a shot to win Player of the Year last year.
Yeah, and I think he's probably going to outright win it this year. I'll be completely honest with you. This is probably my national champion preseason pick right here.
Wasn't it
They
last year?
are. What's that?
Wasn't it last year too?
It was, and I'm back on the train again. It was definitely felt a little more overreach last preseason than it does now, but I've earned the right to double down there, so I'm going to. I think Michael Palandri is probably just the best player in the country this year. This team is super high powered. Their offense is really fun to watch and incredible. Their defense gives teams nightmares. It is absolutely crazy how good this team is on paper. And from what I've seen, Eli Norris coming back also is a huge weapon for you on the special teams side of things as well. Um, I will sing this team's praises until they prove me wrong, and I just don't think they will. It will be interesting, though. Definitely, your D line is going to need to be figured out a little bit.
Yeah.
You only have a couple people coming back there, so you'll need some guys to step up. I think Tyler Walker definitely is a guy that can step up for them. He had decent production last season. But yeah, I'm just outright staking my claim right here. Like this is my number one.
You also got to replace those three offensive linemen. I'm sure they've got guys in the pipeline, but having two first team all conference guys and a second teamer is going to be tough. You know, we didn't, hear a ton about Jake Humphrey, probably mostly because Michael Palandri was busy taking off with the football. But he was solid, almost 1,000-yard running back. And I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the guys up front. But this is definitely a team returning almost everybody on offense and a heavy majority of your defense. It's, man, they're the favorites to win their side of the Frontier. It's rare that you see a team go to the semis and bring back this much. So let's talk about how we divide this up. And yes, I had to throw in a Star Trek reference to the Final Frontier. I couldn't not. Going East and West this year, and you'll notice the East has most of your North Star teams in it, but you've added in Montana Tech and Rocky Mountain. The Frontier West gets Simpson, but the good news is you get two auto bids here, one from each side. So that means you might be able to sneak in a fourth team into the playoff picture.
Yeah. I mean, looking just the way this is split, like the West is going to be a absolute nightmare.
Oh yeah.
My Lord.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's gonna be like Frontier. That's like it's like boiled down to its rawest form of like chaos football in the West.
It's more Frontier per Frontier.
Yes. Correct. More Frontier per capita.
It's fantastic. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah.
So, what are we predicting? Let's start in the East. And this was hard,
Yeah.
but I think I'm going to take them Diggers from Butte. I'm not going to undersell them this year. I won't say they're not going to have an easier route. It's going to be just as hard as it normally is, except now that you have to deal with all the North Star teams.
Yeah.
Matt, who you got winning?
I'm in the same boat you are. I got Montana Tech. Like you said, I'm not going to undersell them this year. I can't do it. They proved me wrong last year a lot of times, and they look damn good doing it. That defense is going to be really, really good. And I'm excited to see how they mesh against these North Star teams. It's going to be really interesting.
I am kind of excited about my dark horse
Hmm.
because this is the first time that I have ever, ever, ever been able to say that Dickinson State is a dark horse.
Wow.
Look, everyone is going to sell on Dickinson. They're going to say, oh, they're in a new, tougher conference. They're going to take their lumps. They're not going to be as good. They're not going to get to beat up on everyone else. Yada, yada, yada. Dickinson State's a bunch of winners. They know how to win. And their division is still mostly the same people, except for Tech.
Hmm.
So give me
And Northern.
Dickinson State and Northern. So give me Dickinson State. I think they'll surprise this year.
How on paper can I go against a team that brings back a lot of guys on both sides of the ball and also has a 29th season incoming head coach?
Yeah, it's gonna be hard.
I can't really look at any other team in this Eastern Division and say anything besides Valley City State. I think this is a very, these Valley City teams are always very scrappy and they battle really hard. I just think this is the season with kind of all the chaos going on with the conferences and all that, they can take advantage. And I think they have a decently high floor. And I think they have the experience to get the job done. So I think they'll be up there in the conversation this year.
So there's the East. Well, how about the West? Ugh. I think the winner's pretty clear. I mean,
Yeah.
Montana Western has everybody and their brother coming back. They're bigger, stronger, faster, and if they're bigger, stronger, faster, that's really freaking scary for a team that was a semifinalist last year.
I mean, I already stood on my soapbox about Montana Western, so I think it's pretty clear I picked them. I just, again, this is probably my number one team going into the regular season, and I just think Michael Palandri is like that dude. So
Dark horse wise, I I think Carroll is going to be undersold, and I really think you're going to watch Carroll uh, be in this crazy four-way tie at the end of the season that has us trying to look at the Frontier rule book and figure out how you undo a four-way tie.
it's really interesting you say that because I didn't consider Carroll in dark horse territory for me.
It's weird too, but there's so many
Yeah,
teams that are up there that
I think Carroll is just probably like two when it's all said and done here. So
you think so?
I think
I'm really
so.
high on Southern Oregon.
Yeah, Southern Oregon looks really good. But Corey, I need you to answer something for me, okay?
Yeah.
What does chaos thrive off of?
Entropy.
Close. More chaos. And who is more chaotic than Eastern Oregon? In all seriousness, though, like I really like this team on paper. I think they're going to be able to take advantage. This is definitely like more of a gut instinct than anything, but I just get that vibe about this team this year. Uh, I'm really excited to see them give teams fits. This is probably like my number 3 team on this side that will get a win off of either Western or Carroll. So
So, then how does this compare? Now that we've got another team in here and we've added in teams, will the Frontier still be close to the top? Well, they're up about 5 places per team in terms of the average
jeez.
SP plus. It was 40 some odd last year. The average is 45th, which speaks directly into that chaos territory. But when you add more teams in, you increase the standard deviation because the sample set is larger.
Yeah, you literally have like a bunch of top 10 teams and then like literally the worst team at the bottom.
Right. So there's a huge swath here, and there are very few actual midfield teams.
Yeah.
So that puts the Frontier on top for now. We will see. And Matt, we got that done in a little under an hour. I am shocked
Look at us go.
that we
Wow.
ran through 14 teams in right at an hour.
Yeah. But we did it.
We did it. Again, look at us. Who would have thought?
Right.
But we can't do what we do without our patrons. Love these guys. Fantastic. These are the guys that keep everything running on the business side of things. I always say it's the not sexy work of NAIF ball. These guys are in the trenches making sure that we can do what we do easily. And they are. DSU Cone, Bob Boone, Roger Meyer, Jeremy Vauble, Fred Christensen, Ace Wellen, Marty Siebold, Nick Ryan, Kyle Gregory, Tyler Pierce, Justin Hoffman, Steve Speakman, Brian Shake, Julianne Shager, Nate Soapbeer, Stephen Cutler, Julie Loud, Nathan Moore, Ryan, Jason Crawford, Charles A. Flowers, Todd, Nick, Sean Chamberlain, Zach Lance, Josue Trujillo, Casey Willison, Carol C. Suggs, Chris, Derek Lowers, Jason Garnon, USF Sucks, Ian Brookshire, Joey Breckel, Coca Nicholas, Tim Burrow, and Joey from Midwest Sports Net. Man. Matt and we get to go from this next week into what could possibly be another chaotic conference in the GPAC. That's how much Northwestern took a step back. They could step right back forward, and we could see the GPAC take on that Frontier chaos. I mean, Concordia was super good last year.
It'll be interesting. Ready to talk about my Tigers, though.
We do.
Is that insider information? Can I give that out anymore?
Depends.
I'll check.
Depends on what you're allowed to say. We'll see.
Yeah. Talk to the big guy.
Yeah, that's probably smart. So join us next week for what's going to probably be another long podcast. It's going to be fun. It's a 12-team conference, so we'll get into it from bottom to top. But until then, I am Corey Thorpe. He is Matt Schwartzler, and we'll see y'all on the Twitter feed.